Hello, and welcome to today's last section of the Boom Back to School Symposium. This will be the last section of the entire symposium, may I say. And we are super excited to be having Shannon Archer from A Gift of Speech presenting supporting augmentative and alternative communication system with boom cards. And this was super requested, so we are super happy to be having you all here with us today and sharing this time with Shannon to learn more how you can support AAC systems with boom cards. So first things first, reminder, we have the Q&A box where you can add all of your questions, and we also have the chat box where you can add any comments that you have, positive reinforcement for Shannon, anything that you may want to post there, you can add that in the chat, and then questions, reminder, in the Q&A box for us to answer those at the end of the presentation. So we'll see. First thing, if you want to share, if you're a special education teacher, if you're an SLP, OT, what you are in the chat, so Shannon can know who she's talking to and we get to know you a little bit. So let's go in the chat and share where are you from. There you go. So we have special education teacher, life skills, we have SLP, SLP, behaviorist, multi-needs teacher. Love that. Okay, so thank you for sharing. We have a lot of SLPs at what I'm seeing, and it is what we were expecting, but we're just asking because we know special education teachers, behaviorists, all those OTs also work with the AAC system with their students. So it is good that you're here. Thank you for joining us. Special education communication program. So that is interesting. So thank you all for being here. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Shannon Archer.
Thank you, Yanni. I'm excited to be here to share with you guys because I've worked with kids and, always looking for something to address goals, but to keep kids motivated, engaged. I'll admit I kind of fell in love with boom cards when they came out because I could actually create things specifically for my students and then for other students. So I started using boom cards a few years ago and then started creating boom cards as well. So this is a little bit of information on me. If you scan the QR code, you can get a link to some information that I can share with you guys. Also, there is a link to this in the chat. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I love to chat and answer any questions that you might have. Just so you know a little bit about me, I have been an SLP in the schools for 15 plus years, both in the school system and private setting. Before I worked as a speech therapist, I did work as a parent educator, which is something I love, and it really has helped me support my parents better. In my role in the schools, I've worked with a lot of students in Montessori classrooms. In Texas, we had classrooms that were primarily for students with autism, worked with that, have been an AAC-AT specialist, and I love creating stuff. So I have a teacher pay teacher store, a boom learning store, and I just started creating t-shirts and fun stuff for Talk Back Shop. And most importantly, I'm the human member of a therapy dog team, and this is a picture of Chewy because he's cute and he takes better pictures than I do. So, but let's get to business. So supporting AAC with boom cards. So there's a variety of ways that we can actually use boom cards with AAC. And I will tell you, this is not just for speech therapists. This is for speech therapists, special education teachers, behavioralists this as well. These are some great tools that you can give for your team. And it's really for anybody who is going to be working with individuals who are using any sort of augmentative communication, or really you're working on communication skills. That's the way I designed, and that's the way a lot of these tools out there, they can be used for, with any of us can use these with our students. We can use them to specifically address specific goals. Like say we're working on 2-word utterances with our iPad or with their device. We might go and find a specific boom card that we can do that with. Or we might be working on, you know, a certain, like say we're working on the word go and we want to work on that in phrases. We might find a boom card deck that enables us to work on that. But the other way we can use this is just as a fun activity to model language and AAC implementation. So I kind of call it a little bit, it's the bait and switch. You're playing this game, you're having fun. The kids don't even know that you're working, but you can implement AAC with some modeling and some questions and using boom cards. So how can you use them? So one of my favorite ways to use boom cards is an interactive whiteboard. Now, I will tell you, I have never had my own interactive whiteboard. I was very jealous when all of our sped staff got them in our district and we didn't. So I went over and played with them. And anytime I was pushing into the classroom, I would, I was like so jealous because they're really fun to use. So I had made what I call my faux interactive whiteboard or interactive board. And I'll show you that in a second. So when I'm using boom cards with AAC, you know, having an interactive board, oh yeah, that's awesome, but we don't all have them. I'll show you how to do a faux interactive board. And then you can just use a single iPad, device, laptop, any sort of device that you can use boom cards on, or you have the AAC device on. Now I'm going to show you a little trick about splitting the screen if you have an iPad that you can do with certain programs. Can't do it with all the programs, but certain ones you can. So this is what I saw this kindergarten teacher and I was like, this is brilliant. So the kids were coming in and they were doing a math activity and the kids had a little pointer and I saw her over at her desk with her mouse and I was like, she doesn't have an interactive whiteboard. She's using the pointer in her computer to make the kids think that it's interactive. It was brilliant. So this is, I wanted to show a little video. I actually made one of my good friends do this with me. So she said she would not speak, but that's okay. So let's watch this real quick. Oops. I knew this was going to happen. That's okay. We're going to have to go to my other, bear with me a second. Okay. Okay. So let's watch this video real quick.
So I don't have a magic whiteboard. What I do have though is
magic.
I have an overhead projector, and this is how I use boom cards. So what item do you want? So we have our new magic pointer. So then I have a wireless mouse. Oops, you wanted the umbrella. Where would you like me to put it? Okay, how about beside the pool? What do you want next?
And so in this situation, you could be modeling on the iPad. What do you want? You could model umbrella. You could model next to pool. So you could do a lot of modeling with this.
Oh, the dog in the float. Where should we put him? In the pool or beside the pool? In the pool. Awesome.
Okay, so you can see how you don't have to have all the fancy stuff. You can use an interactive whiteboard for this, or just a projector and a pointer that I got at the dollar store. Now, not all rooms have a projector. I just happened to be in a classroom for about 7 years, which was amazing. I might have had a view of the Pacific Ocean, but and it had an old projector in there that I was able to use. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to split the screen. Now, I put this in the instructions just so that when you come back to this, if you have questions, this is in the handout. So I'm going to stop share and we're going to hope that things are going to share correctly. I'm going to share my iPad. Now you can see right now it is in a split view. So this means you can be looking at a boom card deck and have the AAC application open. So let me show you how we do this. So first of all, I have to tell you that not all of the programs will let you do this. I'm showing ProLoco because it does. I know that the Cough Drop, you can do this with Cough Drop because you can do multiple Chrome screens or Safari. I know, unfortunately, TD Snap and LAMP do not, but there are some workarounds. So here's what we're going to do. First thing first, we're going to open what we want on the left side. Doesn't really matter, but I'm going to push ProLoco. I'm going to open it. And then I'm hoping that you guys can see there's these 3 little dots at the top. These 3 little dots, if you push it, you do split view, and then it's going to allow you to open the second screen. And don't judge me for having 12,788 emails. I forgot that y'all were going to see how many emails that I keep my emails. Yeah, I'm in email order. So now you can see that you have the AAC program right next to an AAC, next to a boom card deck. So let's see. Oops, I lost my screens. That's a problem when you have all these screens opened up. You can actually lose where you're at. So I am going to stop sharing this one because I want to, and I will apologize. We're going back and forth a little bit, but it's because I wanted to be able to show you guys in real time these activities. So sorry for going back and forth, but I figured that this would be the best way to show you guys in real time. So we've got a split screen. Now, we've got your split screen set up. Now you can go to whatever boom deck you'd like to work with at that time. So it's a great way when you only have one device to be able to use boom card decks when you're working on AAC. Okay, so here's the thing, when you're supporting AAC with boom cards, it does not have to be AAC specific. You can use an interactive language boom card deck. You can use building any sort of deck that is going to keep a student engaged, and it's going to allow you to target your goals for that day. Your goals could just be interacting with the iPad. It could their AAC device. It could just be modeling and showing them vocabulary. So it doesn't necessarily have to be AAC specific. Now, I do use some AAC specific ones, and I create AAC specific ones. So it sounds like I'm almost talking you out of buying them. I'm not. But I'm telling you this because one thing that was kind of like when I first started working with individuals with AAC, that was a lightning bulb, and it seems so stupid, but it was something that I was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. When you're working with AAC, you're working on language. So yes, you have a device, and yes, there are some sequences and things, and it's fancy and it's technology, but the bottom line is you are working on the language. You're working on the language using AAC. So that means you can use any sort of activity that allows you to address the math goals. Maybe you're working on letters or working on those language development goals. You can use any sort of boom card deck with your AAC device and work on those things. So it's not just about building language. I mean, you are building language, but it's about using your AAC system in a variety of purposes. I could talk about that for a long time, so I got to move on. So I want to show you one of my favorite decks that I use for, she has a ton of these, and I bought these once when she had them all in a bundle for sale, and they're fantastic. And I love to use these when I'm working on language, some language goals. So I'm going to share my iPad again. So we already have it up in, okay, there we go. It takes a second. Okay, so here I have this great back to school language-based activity. It's telling me that I'm asleep. Okay, so here are some things that we could do with this. So this is, let's see if we can go back to the menu. Okay, so we have our friend, and this is a back to school activity. This is Liz, and she's going back to school today. Where does she go? Where's she going? Oh, she's going to school. Yeah, she's going to school. Let's see what she's going to do. Oh, wow, look. I see a bus, and bus is in vehicles.
Bus.
I see a bus. What do you see?
What?
What do you see?
See.
Let's see, we've got a backpack. Oh, these are things that we would have at school. So let's look at our school supplies. Oh, look, she has a backpack.
Pencil.
And a pencil. Wow, that's so cool. She has a backpack and a pencil. Very cool. So let's see, where was Liz going? Was Liz going to school, to the beach, or to the park?
Where?
So where did
She
go? To school? That's right. She's going to school. She is going to school. So you can see here, I'm using this fun little deck, and I'm modeling some words. I'm modeling questions. I'm modeling comments, and I might do some fill in the blank type questions. When we're working on AAC, modeling is one of our best tools. And our modeling, when we're modeling, we're not necessarily expecting any sort of responses. But when I'm working with a student with goals, I'm going to do a combination of pure modeling where I'm just commenting. I'm going to wait and give the individual time to respond. And then I might also add some fill in the blank type questions so that I can kind of create that interaction. And we're both playing with the boom card deck and the device as well. So that's an example of how you can use pretty much, think about if you're working on some math and you're working on some simple counting. There's a lot of great boom card decks that you could use for counting. And you can open up on the device, you can open up the numbers or the math section so that you can model and use that boom card deck for working on that task or that goal. So I want to show you this because this is one of my favorite examples of, I was using AAC via teletherapy, and the student was using an eye gaze. And this was amazing, and I show this as often as possible because it just makes me smile. So let's see. This is what happens when you start pushing a lot of buttons and you're like, I'm going to show you this, and you leave the webinar.
No worries. No worries.
Sorry. So let me share the video.
Baby animal. Baby animal.
Yeah, it does look like a baby animal.
Baby animal.
Yeah, it does. Those are
Baby animal. Baby animal.
baby.
Tadpole.
That's right. The tadpole is a baby animal. It's a baby.
So right here, she's sometimes it might look like she's just repetitively pushing or using her eye gaze to say tadpole, 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 tadpole. But when I started to realize, she was talking about the frog, and the frog, when they're babies, are tadpoles, because earlier in this deck, we talked about tadpoles and baby animals. And so I was just modeling and responding and respecting what she was saying and doing. It was amazing.
Those are lots of great sea.
And this is actually things we had seen earlier.
A sea urchin and a sea animal. Let's go back to our ocean.
So I took that as her wanting
where
to go
we
back
see
and talk about those.
Sea urchin.
Yes. Those are animals that live in the ocean. Awesome.
baby,
So just an example of how, we can use boom cards and with AAC and in teletherapy with an eye gaze device, which is challenging. When I was asked to do that a couple summers ago, I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. But the boom cards worked out really well because they were interactive. She enjoyed it. And then we actually opened 2 screens. There's some ways that you can do that so that I was able to see the student and what the student was doing as well. So another great way to use boom cards is with specific AAC decks. I started creating AAC decks because I found there were specific goals and things I wanted to do. So I started creating ones that were specifically for AAC. And when you go online and look, there are a ton of great AAC resources. Some have 1 or 2 words that they focus on, and some have a more thematic approach. I like to create thematic approach with my AAC devices. Typically, they're going to have multiple words and multiple things we're working on, but in a thematic way. So let me show you how we use specific AAC specific. Okay, so we're going to go to, so this is one that I created to work on categories and finding kind of navigation with the device. Now, as you see, some of the colors are different. It may not look exactly like your student's AAC device, and that's okay. When we're working with an AAC device, we want to make sure the AAC device is stable, doesn't change, the pictures are where they are. But when we're teaching and working on language and working on other activities, it is okay to use AAC support that maybe they're using. There's a couple different picture systems that you can use. So it may not have the exact ones or the exact that your student has, and that's okay, because this promotes generalization. So this is an activity that I created just to work on categories and practice finding and going into folders. So this would be where I might model where
Fine.
where do we find this guy? Where do we find this this animal? So if you noticed, when I was modeling, I did not model word for word. Modeling word for word is very laborious, and it's very difficult sometimes depending on where our individual is. If we model 5 to 6 words in a sentences, they might have lost us at the 2nd or 3rd word. Plus, I'm going to model where the individual is. So if I have an individual that is at a full sentence level, then I'm going to model, ask questions using grammar. The majority of the individuals that I've worked with have been more early communicators. So I'm going to keep my modeling to close to what I call 1 step ahead or 2 steps ahead of where they are language wise. So if they're only on single words, I'm going to model 2 and 3 word phrases. If they're on 2 words, I'm going to model 3 and 4 word phrases. When I'm beginning, I don't model us and thus. Sometimes I'll use the is, but I'm really modeling your subject, verb, and your object. I'm trying to keep the focus on functional communication when we're learning. And then as we go, we add in those other components. Okay, so this is something kind of fun, just a little thing. Once the person I've said, where do we find, where do we find this person or animal? I'm going to look through, we're going to talk about, is he animals, body parts, clothing? Some of my kids do better when I give them multiple choices. Some don't. If I'm going to give multiple choices, I always try to do 3 because if you're only given 2, it's 50-50. So here we go. Animals. Oh, we, and I don't have we on here, but it's in here. This is a situation where if you can't find something, this is a great time to model how we find a word when we don't know where it is. Oh, it is there. I just couldn't see it. We found.
Found.
What did we find? We found a penguin, and a penguin is a type of animal.
Penguin.
We found an animal. Look at that. Now let's put the animal in his habitat. Oh, he's there with his other penguin friends. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So where would you find this? You would find a jacket that would be in a clothing. That would be the type of clothing. Oh, let's put the shirt on the boy. We're going to put on. We're going to put the shirt on. So here I'm modeling, we're doing the activity on the boom card, and then I'm also modeling some vocabulary that you could use. You could always ask question of what color is the shirt, or what are they wearing on, oh wow, they've got no shoes. So there's a lot of different questions you can ask. So this is an example of a boom card that is specific to a goal of navigation and categorizations. But I have another example of a boom card deck that is thematic, that has a lot of core and fringe vocabulary that you can use with the students. So I've created, and there's some other individuals that have core decks that are thematic, in the sense that I have some that are seasonal. And then this is one that I just met because I love pets. Obviously I already showed a picture of my dog, but this is kind of a fun activity where you can focus on certain vocabulary, as well as some of those fringe as well. If you're not familiar with the term, when we talk about AAC, core vocabulary are those words that the individual is going to use communication. They're going to be using this almost all the time. They're the most used words. And then fringe words are things that maybe aren't used as often, but they're still important. And oftentimes fringe words sometimes are more specific to an individual. I don't always like the term core and fringe, because I think sometimes it gives it the sense that fringe words aren't as important, but they are. So I kind of try to look at it more of, am I working on the subjects and verbs and objects that my individual or the student or kiddo that I'm working with has, that they're going to be able to communicate effectively and communicate about what they love and what they don't like. So let me just show you this one. So this starts with just some verbs. I always love working on verbs. I find that verbs to me are one of our most important things to teach with AAC, because they're functions. It's what's going on. So I also like using GIFs. This is kind of fun. You've got so I might say, what is it doing? What is it doing? It is running. And since it's not on that first page, let's look and see if we can find run. Oh, there it is.
Run. It run.
He's running. Yay, he's running. What is it do? What is it doing? So when I'm using the device, I'm always going to pair choosing the buttons with vocalization. Now, if you notice right here, I'm not necessarily using the grammatically correct forms. That's because this is early on. In an early stage, I'm going to model verbally what that correct would be. Like, what is the cat doing? What is it doing? But I may not, depending on where the individual is, I may not be inputting those grammatical forms at that time. So let me show you what this look like if I use grammatical forms or grammatical endings.
What is
it
doing?
What is it doing? So depending on your device, some of them have it set up differently with your grammatical endings. But that is how you could create that in more of a grammatical with your grammatical endings. So what is it doing? It is hitting the ball. Oh, it is. Let's see if we have hitting. I don't see hit. You know what? But we can look for it. Let's look. Modeling, finding your vocabulary is so important. And the reality is I've worked with Proloco since like 2009, and I can tell you that I still don't know where a single word is. That's interesting. So hit is all the way in baseball. It is hitting the ball. So you could go and model it is hitting the ball on the device as well. Some more ways. So here on this one, we have pet agility. So put the dog over. Where's the dog? It is. Oh, I don't have over, but you know what? Here's some more. It is over. It is over. Look, it is jumping over.
It is.
Oh, I think he's going to jump. What do you think? Is he going to jump? He's jumping. You think he's going to make it? Hope he makes it. So in here, the thing I like about decks, like using the boom card decks, is that we're making it more interactive and fun. You're moving the items around the screen, so the individual, your student, is moving items. It's kind of fun, but we're also coordinating it with AAC. Now, if you'll notice here, I talked a little bit earlier about how there are different. Each AAC program uses a little bit different symbol systems. There's I think 4 or 5 main ones that are used, and also the color systems. Now these color systems, there's a fancy word for it, Fitzgerald key, modified Fitzgerald key, and what it is that it's an extra tool or an extra signal to the individual what parts of speech these are. So I always make sure when I'm setting up a system for an individual that I use these colors as much as possible. Now, because these are different, the student might be going, wait, I've got to look a little bit. And that is where we can model that. I like to try to, make sure that we're teaching, a variety. Sorry. There are going to be different instances of a symbol across an individual's environment. One program versus the pictures you might use in your class. So what's important is that we also use that opportunity to teach, just like some of my students that I worked with when I first got started, we had to teach them that this picture of a dog is just a picture of one dog, and that there's actually dogs come in all shapes and sizes. So it's kind of on that same line. So we have going to the animal hospital. So in this AAC deck, working on a variety of different activities. My focus when I'm working on decks and things with AAC is that I really want to focus on using a variety of vocabulary. I focus on using what I call a subject verb object. so that, we're giving individuals the vocabulary that they need in order to effectively give their wants and needs. So if we're only using, the object like the cat, or in this case it's the noun or the subject, then all they're going to be able to do is use that single word. Also using these subjects, not just always using I, using she, he, it, going into things and animals, because right here the animal is the subject. So let's see. Those are the two programs I wanted to show you, but let me show you a little bit more with this one, because I want to show you that, it's not just about AAC. Actually, you know what I'd like to do? I want to go ahead and stop sharing this and see if anybody has any specific questions that they would like me to model, and I can reattach this, or I'll just keep this sharing and see if anybody has any specific questions that they'd like me to model using programs. Now, I did have someone who said, how would you implement using a head switch or a Big Mac? So there's a couple different ways. I think that you could use the Big Mac as a interaction. So asking them a question, and then so you could say, so for example here, school, beach, or park. Let me know on your Big Mac, you let me know which one is it is. Is it school? Pausing and giving the individual the opportunity to respond and pushing that button. You could say, is it the beach? And if you get no response, oh, it's the school, and having them use that Big Mac or use that switch to choose school. Now, some of the Big Macs and some of the, I'm trying to think if the Big Mac allows you to program, some of the buttons will actually allow you to program multiple things. So you can have kind of a string. So you could actually put different words into that, or it could just be, so for example, in this school one, you could do yes, no, you do school. I will tell you, it is a little bit more challenging when you're working with just like a single switch or button. But when you take the AAC, like this core vocabulary out of it, and you're just simply playing with a game or activity. So you could use that as, so say, for example, what color is the bus? I'm going to go through this and you tell me when I pick the right color. Is it purple? Is it pink? Oops. Is it yellow? Yes, it's yellow. And have them push the button to confirm, or kind of as a yes, no with you as well. Do you know if you can do a split screen with touch chat? I don't know, but let's see real quick. Because let's see, I think I have touch chat. Okay. Yes, look at that. So we can split screen with touch chat. Awesome. I hadn't even checked that. So yes, we can. That's awesome. So how would you implement this with pre-K verbal students' classrooms to teach vocabulary? So honestly, when you are, so do you mean also modeling AAC, or kind of leaving the AAC side out? Because I'll answer it in both ways. So when you're modeling on AAC, you're also modeling the language. So for example, okay. So for example, with this activity, and I'm going to take this one, for example. I'm going to ask the students, there's questions that are already within the boom cards on here. Oh, where's the backpack? Oh, the backpack, is it in front of the bus or is it on the bus? Oh, let's move it. What did we find behind? We found a pencil. So in this situation, I can ask some questions about that backpack and the pencil. What do you put in your backpack? I put notebooks in my backpack, but what else could you put in your backpack? Let's see. I have got to say, I'm going to switch this back because I am not as familiar with touch chat as I am, I will admit, this is bad, with Proloquo and TD Snap, and it just happens to be because that is what the majority of my students have used. So in this situation, I can, with AAC or without AAC, I can use a deck like this. I can use even this one that's specific to AAC. You're essentially working on creating phrases, creating, where are we going to put the dog? We're going to put the dog over. Where's the dog? The dog is over. He is jumping over. Ooh, he landed. So you can model any of these, whether it's AAC specific, that's language specific. It's really about interaction, and I like to use questions that are, I don't want my sessions to be about, oh, what is that? What is this? What is that? What is that? So I try to find ways to input, have some questions, but that are more a fill in the blank or more interactive for the individual. Like, oh, I found a purple backpack. In my backpack, I have a notebook and pencil. What do you have in your backpack? What could you put in your backpack? What are some things on a backpack? On a backpack, I have a zipper. I zip up the backpack, I unzip it. Oh, look behind, I have a pencil. So this situation, we're working on some vocabulary, talking about some different things, function, some features, and groups. When I'm working with my preschool, pre-KK, I'm really, a lot of times I'm working on features, function, and categories of items. So really that describing, and then asking WH questions around feature, function, categories. So, okay, hopefully Jacqueline, that I answered that, but I'm always happy to, if you want to send me an email, I can answer some more. Okay, do you have any specific ideas for teletherapy with a preschooler who's just beginning to use an AAC device with eye tracking? Yes. So one of the things that we did when I worked with a student, I used some of my AAC programs and and these as well. One of the things, I did a split screen so that they could see. So, and depending on what AAC device they're using. So like I said, TD Snap and LAMP don't necessarily do this. So what you would have to do in that situation where they don't necessarily, you can't split screen, you kind of have to do more of the stop share, or what you can do if there is not, so I'm going to, you can share your entire screen. So if you have so let's see, teletherapy, the individual. So a couple of things that I do when I'm working with teletherapy is I try to make sure, see if the parent could set up a camera that is facing. So I play around with this sometimes with the parents to see if they can get the phone so that it's facing, so that I can see the individual and also kind of see the device. And sometimes I'm more interested, like I'll have it right back here, which I don't know how easy it is for y'all, so that it's looking at the individual's face, but really looking at the device. So I have them essentially sign in with an extra screen so that I can see what the individual is doing. that way I can better model, I can see what they're doing. And then one of the things I'm going to do is I am probably going to, I'm going to use programs multiple times. I'm going to make sure I have like maybe 5 to 10 specific things I want to target for that session. And sometimes what I do with that is really just about kind of playing. Like what I was doing with this other individual, it was just really about playing. And it's playing, but it's actually therapy. And sometimes especially teletherapy, when I'm communicating with the parents, I'm telling them about why are we doing this way? I am doing something really fun, and I want them to be interactive. So in this situation, if I had the exact same, say they had eye gaze with this, I'm going to focus on a few words that I'm going to model. So I'm going to say what? Or actually maybe here I'm going to say
Where
is she? And I'm going to model, where is she?
Where
She is at school. She's at
School.
school. And then you might actually, when you're with teletherapy, a lot of times you'll have families around, and I really try to get families involved in speech, especially if there's an eye gaze device, because this also can help them with training. So I might say, hey, this week, can you spend 10 minutes? And so what I have them do is help with some of the prompting, like some of the pointing to the eye gaze, kind of direct the eye gaze. So I'm going to try to incorporate parents. I'm going to model, and really try to use some of those, the parent or individual prompt, but I'm also going to add in an extra screen so that I can see what the individual is doing. And sometimes it's with that school setting that up, or asking the parent if they'll sign in on the phone as well. Just make sure when they sign in on the phone that they mute it. Otherwise you'll have that wonderful back and forth. Okay, let's see. You said TD Snap how to work around with split screen. So here's something that you can do. Let's see if I can get this to work. So what I will do in this situation is I will make sure that I have TD Snap and then my open, so that I can just quickly go back and forth between the two. It's not as, I love it when I can split screen, but we all know that we don't all have an interactive whiteboard along with multiple iPads and all that kind of stuff. So we just have to be crafty. So in this situation, I might go, oh, where is she? Where
is
she?
she?
Huh. Where is she? Oh, she's at school. So I might actually use that feature where you can just go from open both and then navigate between the two. It's not as pretty, but it can work. Okay. Can you share a link for the boom cards that you used in the webinar? So there is a PDF that I believe you guys got that should have the links to all of them, or I can actually, let me see if I can do that real quick.
Sure. I just share the link to your store, and I share the link to the presentation. So
okay, great. And if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to email me. But let's see, was there any other questions out there? One of the things that, I just want to encourage, I know with AAC sometimes can seem overwhelming, and it can seem like, oh, wow, there's this technology that I've never used it. I don't know how to use it. Well, guess what? You're not alone. I didn't know how to use AAC when it first came out. And it's just about practicing, and it's just about using your skills as an educator that you already have. You already know how to work with these individuals to improve their language, to work on their goals. It's just a matter of, this is a tool. This device is a tool. It's just a tool for language. But boom cards have been a fun tool. And I've really found it fun for my students, but also very effective. So I hope that you guys learned a lot from that. And let me just share, I do have contact information at the back. But that is in the Yanni shared the link. So please don't hesitate. If you have a question, you can send me an email. I'm happy to ask speech and AAC questions at any time. So
Perfect. So thank you very much, Shannon. That was super interesting. I'm a former special education teacher, and I used to use chat with one of my students, and that was such a throwback. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for showing a lot of tips for all of these educators that are using AAC. Now you know how you can support AAC with boom cards. So thank you all who join us. Thank you all that are commenting. As you may know, in the chat, I shared Shannon's store. I share the presentation, a link to an FAQ or an article that have all the links for the presentations, all the links for the presenters. So make sure to visit that. And also I share the link for the feedback survey. So please make sure to fill that out. We learn a lot from that, and we try to improve every webinar that we do. So thank you all who join us to all of our sections and to any section. Thank you again, and we hope to see you in our next webinars. And thank you, Shannon, again. So I'll see you all later. Have a good day and have a good year and back to school. So bye-bye. Happy blooming.
Bye.